We're going to talk about what you can do to increase your testosterone naturally, because we know in this world of conventional medicine, and for that matter, even some functional medicine and integrative medicine doctors, there are many, many out there that still believe that testosterone is a male hormone only and that females don't need it. There are many that still go by the optimal lab value range, well, the standard lab value range, not the optimal lab value range. And we'll talk about that. And then there are your subset of functional, integrative, and conventional doctors that believe that hormones will cause cancer, and not necessarily testosterone. But yes, I have heard the argument that if we give testosterone, it aromatizes into estrogen, and then that all of a sudden is going to cause cancer. Because don't you know that estrogen causes cancer, which is completely false, but that is the belief system that is quite often permeating the medical community, conventional or functional. So let's just start there. And by the way, this podcast will be for men and women because both sexes get the shaft when it comes to testosterone replacement. So let's just start with what is testosterone. Why is it important? We'll do a really brief overview and then we'll get down to the nitty gritty. So you need testosterone because testosterone is your get shit done hormone. It's what gives you drive and motivation and lights your brain up. And yeah, it gives you sexual desire and it helps with your strength at the gym and your motivation to get to the damn gym. It helps with your muscles and keeping that beautiful lean muscle tissue. It helps with body composition in that you really can't lose fat if your testosterone is in the toilet. And you really can't build muscle if your testosterone's in the toilet. So your whole body composition will be thrown off just by that alone. So we can see the importance of testosterone across the board, in addition to everything that I just listed. It also helps protect us against autoimmunity. And this is why men get hit with Hashimoto so much more than women, because men have higher levels of testosterone. And that level of testosterone actually protects against autoimmune turning on. Us women, we just have naturally lower testosterone levels. Even when we're optimal, we are still lower than men, or we should be. If we're on testosterone and we're equal to a man's testosterone, the man is the one with the problem and really needs to get help immediately. Men should always have much, 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 like 10x higher testosterone than we do. But that leaves us more prone to autoimmune. So testosterone, you can see, is very vital, very important. I have multiple podcasts on this. We can link a couple in the show notes if you really want to go back and dive into that and the importance of testosterone and everything it does. But now I want to focus on if you want to increase your testosterone naturally. Now, this is going to be the subset of people that if you've been told by your conventional or functional or integrative doctor that they can't prescribe testosterone and they're trying to put you on DHEA instead and say, this is all you need. You don't actually need testosterone. All you need is DHEA. That is because they can't prescribe it. So they're trying to find a workaround. And this is for all those people whose doctors won't prescribe it, they can't prescribe it, or they just refuse to because they're in that old mindset. This is also for the people that are maybe in their 20s and 30s, and you're still in those childbearing years, and you still may actually want to conceive and have additional children. It's borderline controversial as to what we do right there. Do we use testosterone? Because testosterone is required for fertility. Testosterone is required for fertility. But we don't want too much because then you have the possibility of androgenization of the baby. And we don't want that. So it is recommended that a woman stop her testosterone replacement therapy, so actual testosterone prescribed, that she stop that upon conception, and that she actually stop that if they're trying to conceive. If her and her husband are trying to conceive and she knows it, like we are in this trying phase, then we stop the testosterone. We have enough on board for fertility, but then we stop it prior to actual trying phase. But what happens if we weren't trying, but now I'm pregnant. Oh my gosh, should I do damage to my baby? No, you just stop it right at that point in time. But if you are in those childbearing years, it's a deep conversation with your prescriber and with your provider as to whether or not you're going to use testosterone in the first place. There are pros and cons there. But what we're going to talk about today really does apply to my 20 and 30-year-olds, because you should be focused more on increasing your testosterone levels naturally. Same with guys. If you're in your 20s and 30s, short of having possibly something wrong with your pituitary, a pituitary tumor, or if you are deeply, deeply hypothyroid, that can push your testosterone down to levels that, let's face it, a supplement just isn't going to fix. Sleep and eating, not going to fix. There are things that we just sometimes need to do therapeutically, medically, to bring a man's testosterone back up to where it should be. Now, the stopping of testosterone is not as important for a man as it is for a woman upon conception. So a man can carry his testosterone through that trying phase and through conception, because after that's done, his job is done. So he can continue enjoying the benefits of his TRT. Now, if you're doing things naturally, guys, you can just keep on rolling with this, because we ultimately want your testosterone levels as optimal as possible. Now, when I'm talking optimal, again, before we get into the meat of this show, I want to give you the optimal ranges, because that's important. You could be sitting there looking at your standard lab value range for men and women, and you could say, well, it's not a big deal. I'm not flagged low. It's not red. My doctor actually says I'm normal. Or you might actually be flagged high, ladies. You might be artificially flagged high. And what I mean by that is, what if your testosterone is actually a 50? By the way, total testosterone optimal for women, 50 or above. Free testosterone optimal for a woman, I like it right in the halfway mark or above of that standard lab value range. So grab your labs, look at that standard lab value range, cut it in half. We want it there or above. But if your total isn't even at a 50, your free is not going to be optimal either. And here's the problem with the standard lab value range for women. It gets cut off at a 48. So you can see, even before you hit optimal, you're getting flagged high. And your doctor's going to be like, oh, your testosterone is high. Maybe you have PCOS or something. And they'll put you on spironolactone, which will shut down your testosterone even more. So if you're flagged high, ladies, you really want to look at that number. And if you're taking testosterone, you should be flagged high. If you're doing things to naturally raise your testosterone, you should be flagged high. Getting flagged high is a good thing when it comes to total testosterone. For my men out there, your standard lab value range is a shame for testosterone. Do you know it starts at like 250, 285, depending on the lab that you're with, and it gets cut off. They've lowered it. Now it's getting cut off at 900. Why? Because we are seeing a total demasculinization of America. Men, not by choice, not because of gender reassignment surgery, but men in general are so estrogenized from the chemicals in our water, which, praise God, are going to change soon. From the xenoestrogens in our food, the pesticides, the hormones, the stuff that we put on our bodies. My God, these dudes are axe spraying their body. They're using body wash now that's scented. I mean, guys are getting so estrogenized. It's insane. And that's why you go ahead and go to Walmart or go to an amusement park. I think these are the best places to people watch and observe. So if we are taking basically a non-controlled study, if we're doing a non-controlled study and we go to Walmart and we sit there and we go, how many men that walk by me have man boobs? I mean, it's fun. Don't knock it till you try it. And you will notice, and you have to put in this, you got to be watching for a couple different things. You got to watch for the man boobs, and you got to watch for like a Kim Kardashian butt. When men have big butts and big thighs, they are estrogenized, because that's where we carry our fat, not dudes. So man boobs, very like soft feminine features. Again, this is not by choice. So you can't be picking out a transgender and say that counts toward our study. This has to be a guy that wants to be a guy and is obviously trying to be a guy, and he has too much estrogen on board and not enough testosterone. So you got to watch for that. But in general, I know that was just a funny diversion. In general, men are experiencing much, much lower testosterone levels now than they were 20 years ago, which is why the standard lab value range has changed and actually dropped down. So it used to go up to 1100, 1200, and that is fantastic for most men. I mean, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe in the 70s, 80s, once you hit that age bracket, yeah, we'll let you float down a little bit more if you want to drop down to like 800, 900. If that much testosterone is just too much for you and your wife can't keep up, I don't know, but we can drop that down a little bit. But my younger guys, well, you know what? 70s is still young. I love you all. So for my guys in 40s, 50s, 60s, my God, we want that testosterone total to minimum be above an 800, but much more 1,000, 1,100. Well, LabCorp cut you off at 900. So if you actually float into the optimal range, you're getting flagged. And if you are below an 800, all the way down to what, 250, 285, you're being told that you're normal. So we can see that testosterone standard lab value ranges are horrendous, to say the least, worse than thyroid lab value ranges. Now we know with thyroid lab value ranges, yeah, there's an optimal range and there is a normal range, but the deviation with testosterone numbers in males and females is huge. And this lab value range needs dramatically overhauled if we're going to actually focus on optimal health. So that's what you're looking at when you're looking at your standard lab value range. Women total, you want to be 50 or above. Men total, you want to be 800 or above. Men free testosterone, you want to be above a 20. I don't care if it floats all the way up 30, 40, 50, 100. I don't care. I want you feeling good. So we're going to look at the total and the free testosterone. We're also going to look at, for men, we're going to look at your estradiol. For women, we're going to look at your full hormone profile. But now I'm starting to go down rabbit holes that I really want to come back and just focus on the T, just focus on the testosterone. So you see that you're low. Maybe as a woman, you're coming in the 30s or 40s. And that is a really nice range that we can hit this naturally. Now, I will say if your testosterone is non-existent, if it's a 5, if it's a 10, you're going to need testosterone replacement therapy. Most likely all of the things that we'll go over today won't quite cut it. But if you're in, like I said, 20s, 30s, then we can do things here. We can do things to move that needle and make a difference. Men, same thing. I would say if you're coming in 600, 700, there are things that we can do, lifestyle and supplementally, to move that needle. But if you're below that, you're going to need TRT. All right, first thing, sleep. Sleep is so vital. We anchor our health on sleep so often. And I feel, even if I have a sleep expert on, I feel like the point just is not driven home enough. At least that's my opinion. That's my experience, because I myself have to continuously come back to the topic of sleep and remind myself how vital sleep is for all aspects of health. If you're not sleeping, you're going to be inflamed. You're more prone to insulin resistance. You're more prone to type 2 diabetes. You're more prone to low hormones and a lowered immune system and all the things. Sleep. And inside of sleep, we have sleep hours, we have sleep quality, we have the depth, we have the REM, we have the light sleep, we have the time that you're going to sleep. So in a nutshell, again, this isn't a sleep episode, but we want to go to bed by 10 p.m. because our rest, repair, restore, deep sleep hours are between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. And you'll find that if you track your sleep and you go to bed late one night, you go to bed at midnight or 1, your deep sleep is crap. Like you're barely getting any. So in order to get that deep sleep, we have to go to bed on time. And then we have to do things like the blue light blocking glasses and stopping eating before bed and shutting down electronics and winding down and maybe taking things to help support our sleep. Low dose melatonin, a little bit of GABA, magnesium, 5-HTP, all of those things. I actually put those in my sleep fixer because I have a horrendous time sleeping. Well, I did till I found this stack. So getting deeper sleep, imperative. I actually was wearing my Soul Tech, which I have an episode on that. If you're like, what's the Soul Tech? This sleep device, it tracks it. It helps get you back into sleep and back into a deep sleep through different frequencies. And I tracked it. When I take Sleep Fixxr, I can get 100 in my depth. And that's when I know I am resting, repairing, restoring. So everything goes together very nicely. Sleep Fixxr ends up helping me to get deeper sleep, unless I override it and go to bed late, which we can all override our sleep. So sleep is vital, males and females, for optimizing your hormones, optimizing your testosterone. Lifting heavy shit. Well, it's funny how this kind of circles back around, right? So we know that testosterone and strength are correlated. So is muscle mass and body composition and testosterone, right? So we need one for the other. We need adequate testosterone in order to lift heavy shit. And we need to be lifting heavy shit in order to have optimal testosterone. So it kind of works, in conjunction, but then you go, well, what do I do first? You start lifting. Because even if your testosterone's in the toilet, that weight training, that resistance training increases your testosterone levels. Now, this does not mean doing a Zumba class. This is not walking. This is all about lifting, weight lifting, and resistance training. So lifting a little bit heavier weights, more than what you're used to, more than just lifting lighter weights for more reps, lifting heavier weights. Maybe you drop down in your repetitions of how many you do because your muscles are hitting failure. That is going to trigger your body. It's going to stimulate the production of testosterone. Compound movements. So your squats, your deadlifts, bench presses. That was the core of my workout. Still is to this day. But when I was powerlifting, oh my gosh, there would be a squat day, a deadlift day, a bench day. Now, what that can look like for you is you might do a leg day with squats. You might do a back day with deadlifts. I'm not talking about killing yourself. We're not talking about lifting 3 times the amount that you already do. We're talking about going up 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, maybe if it's a big compound movement, and pushing yourself a little bit more. Bench press can be a full upper body day. That can be your shoulders and arms. But where you do a heavier bench press, where you do a heavier shoulder press, and that is going to stimulate your body to produce more testosterone. So I want to show you one study. I want to talk about one study. Very, very interesting. This one showed that men with obesity, so obesity is already working against you for your testosterone production because our fat holds estrogen and our fat actually produces estrogen. We have to remember that fat is an organ. So fat will produce more estrogen. So when we take people that are obese, we have a higher estrogen level already. And again, talking about things feeding each other, back to what I said about the demasculinization of America, we have the xenoestrogens, the chemicals, the pesticides, the body wash, the body lotion, increasing estrogen levels in men, which then causes fat deposition. So now we have this cycle where men are getting fatter, producing more estrogen. They're being exposed to more estrogen. That estrogen is making them more fat. And that's outside of all the other things out here. Like, are they sleeping? Are they eating enough protein? Is their thyroid jacked up? All of that. But we can see that cycle just with the estrogen and fat deposition and obesity. So it makes it much more difficult to increase your testosterone levels when your estrogen is high, because high estrogen in men will push down testosterone. So a 2016 study showed that men with obesity that lifted heavy on the regular increased their testosterone, and it increased more than just them losing weight. So what did I just say? Obesity, having that excess body fat is going to produce more estrogen. That's going to keep the weight on. Oh, but wait, if these dudes just go out and lift, they're going to produce more testosterone, which is going to push down their estrogen. Well, unless they aromatize to it. So they're going to produce more testosterone. And then they should probably be taking an aromatization blocker, Estrogen Fixxr, if you're estrogen dominant, if you're on a prescription, inostrozole, so that you don't aromatize that testosterone to estrogen. However, most of the time, we're just worried about that with our TRT patients. If you're doing this naturally, you don't have to worry about it as much, guys. But if you do have high estrogen levels, add in Estrogen Fixxr for sure. Next study showed that, and this was comparing men who didn't even exercise beforehand versus men that were pretty regular exercisers for about a year. You know, they did like the 4 or 5 days a week of getting to the gym, and they weren't just running on a treadmill. Dramatic differences in the group's testosterone levels. So we take this group, guys that don't exercise at all, again, demasculinization. Guys, you got to work out, for God's sake. Low testosterone levels in the men that did not work out. The men that worked out on the regular 4 or 5 days a week had significantly higher testosterone levels than the group that didn't exercise at all. Now, the question is, and I would love to get into this data and see the numbers. Did the men who worked out on the regular, even though they had higher testosterone levels than the men who didn't work out at all, were they optimal levels? Don't know. We just don't know. But in general, we can say, okay, this at least tells us something. You gotta be working out and lifting heavy for a variety of different beneficial reasons, but specifically for your testosterone. Now, here's exercises that won't increase testosterone. High intensity interval training. It's great for cardiovascular fitness and for fat loss, but that is not going to increase testosterone levels. In fact, the 2016 study found that a 20-minute interval exercise containing of 8 seconds of cycling and 12 seconds of rest lowered testosterone levels in women. So ladies, again, hit high intensity interval training is very similar to cardio. You throw it in every once in a while. There's nothing wrong with it, but you better be lifting heavy in addition to that. The next exercise that, I mean, it can actually be more harm than good. Like, we're not even just saying it does nothing. We're actually saying that these exercises can lower your testosterone levels. Cardio. There's no evidence that cardio has any impact on your testosterone levels, no matter what your sex is. In fact, too much cardio may reduce your T levels. This is why we want you to get off the treadmill, get off the elliptical, go into the weight section of the gym and pick up some weights, or even if you're just starting, do the machines, because you want that resistance. Okay, other things that we can do to increase our testosterone naturally: get out in the sun. Vitamin D. You need vitamin D is a hormone as well. So I just dropped a couple bombs on you today. Did you know that fat is an organ that produces hormones? Did you know that vitamin D is not a vitamin, it's a hormone? And hormones are messengers. They signal the body to do something. They send a message. So when we take vitamin D, if we can't get out in the sun, if you're living where I used to live in Erie, Pennsylvania, or Seattle, where you get like 100 days of sun out of the year, you can't get out in the sun. Now, that being said, there are other things that we can do to mimic the sun. Like, my favorite red light is the MitoLux red light. We have coupon codes everywhere for that. We'll stick it in the show notes. MitoLux red light has UVA and UVB, so you can mimic the sun So not only does it have the healing infrared red, you can mimic the sun. So you could do that. You can get out into the sun. It's free out there. And you can take vitamin D supplementation and get your vitamin D levels optimal, because vitamin D is a what? Hormone, and will help your hormones, will help your testosterone. What you eat matters. So again, we're kind of going back to this tie between testosterone and exercise. Like when we lift heavy, we help our testosterone. Testosterone helps us lift heavy. If you don't eat enough protein, you are not going to have adequate testosterone levels, and you're probably going to lose muscle on both ends, right? So if you're not eating enough protein, you're not giving your body the building blocks of amino acids that it needs to build lean muscle tissue and protect your lean muscle tissue. And if you're not eating enough protein, that's also going to affect your testosterone levels. So I'm going to say at the very, very, very top, right under sleep, we're going to put eat enough protein, because it is that vital to your whole being, from keeping your muscle to growing your hair to producing enough testosterone and having energy and all the fun things that come with getting in enough amino acids. Reducing stress, reducing cortisol. Cortisol will crush any hormone. I mean, it just will. It just destroys it. Cortisol crushes our thyroid. Cortisol crushes our testosterone, our whole hormonal cascade. So we have to, however we can, and I know this is not an easy task, we have to control our stress levels one way or another. There are meditation apps. There's yoga. There's breathing modules. Go on YouTube, for God's sake, and you will find that. There's 528 hertz music. That's on Spotify. Like, you can just play that and it's going to reduce your stress levels. If you don't believe me, try it, because Natalie Jill told me about it and I played it and I was like, oh my God, it's like immediate. It reduces your stress levels. There's so many different things you can do. The Soul Tech device that I talked about has a de-stress frequency mode that you can put that on at any point in time during the day. It's not just going to put you to sleep. It's going to help de-stress you too, because stress will kill your sleep. So do we put stress at the top, or do we keep sleep at the top? I don't know. But stress is up there, and controlling stress is up there to the ability that you can, like to your best ability. I get it that life happens. I get it that you can't control all stressors. I get that. But you got to do your best and do what you can, because all those little things that you do, getting better sleep helps with stress, helps your adrenals, meditating, listening to music, deep breathing, all of those things. Even if you can give your body 5 or 10%, that's 5 or 10% less stress. That's a 5 or 10% improvement in your hormones. That's a 5 or 10% improvement in your sleep. So any little thing that you can do is going to help. Trust me, it's going to help. Now we can get into different supplements, herbs that we can add in, male and female, that will help with increasing our testosterone naturally. I have 2 favorite ones for women. First one up is Tribulus terrestris. And not only does this help with testosterone levels, it also helps improve sexual desire and function, particularly in postmenopausal women. So some research on Tribulus is actually showing that it may help alleviate symptoms of hypoactive sexual desire disorder. We actually have a disorder for not wanting to have sex. It's called HSDD. I don't know if we necessarily need a disorder on this, people, but okay. But there are many, many women out there that are like, I really want to have sex and I'm just not feeling it. There is no desire whatsoever. So how it helps is it increases your testosterone levels in the body. Now, is testosterone the be-all end-all for libido, ladies? No. Your estrogen is important. Your thyroid's important. How you feel about yourself on the day-to-day is important as well. But testosterone definitely plays a role. We can't leave it in the dumpster. We got to bring that level up. Now, I mentioned DHEA earlier. I don't like DHEA straight up, meaning you're going to take DHEA and it'll increase your testosterone because it can also increase your estrogen. So if you can nudge the body's DHEA up a little bit without overproduction, and believe me, many women will break out from DHEA. It's just not always a good fit, and it definitely does not always increase testosterone. I do have some women that came into the practice on DHEA previously, and they're like, I went from like a 17 to a 27, so you get maybe a 10 point bump in that. But DHEA alone is not enough. But Tribulus will help the body increase its own production of DHEA. That way you're not putting this big bomb of DHEA on your body, possibly sending yourself into an estrogen dominant state. The other ingredient that I love is Tongkat Ali. Tongkat Ali. Let me repeat that real quick. Tongkat Ali, or Eurycoma longifolia. We're going to just say Tongkat Ali. What this supplement does is it will increase total testosterone by about 48%. And it will increase free testosterone by about 122%. This is in women. So that's what's really kind of cool about it. So we haven't even gotten into the guys yet with the Tongkat. This is in women. So Tribulus, definitely more for women. Can cross over into some dude supplements, but we have better things for the guys. And Tongkat Ali, both sexes, but Tongkat Ali alone for guys not going to be enough. So this study that was done, it's so interesting. So this was comparing the effects of Tongkat Ali on elderly individuals as an ergonomic supplement. 25 test subjects consisting of 13 physically active male and 12 physically active female seniors were supplemented with 400 milligrams of Tongkat Ali daily for 5 weeks. Here's what it found. Significant increases in total and free testosterone and muscular force in both men and women. Women recorded the increase of total testosterone by the 48%, free by 122%, and muscular hand grip force by 13.7% after 5 weeks. The study confirms the ergogenic benefit of Tongkat Ali in enhancing muscle strength for women. Tongkat Ali supplementation improved aging symptoms in women with a reduction in adrenal fatigue syndrome after Tongkat Ali supplementation. It's pretty cool. I like that a lot. I like that study. Now, kind of going back to the cortisol end of things, remember we talked about stress. Tongkat Ali can also help with stress. How? Okay, so this was one of the Mac Daddy studies, randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study investigating the effects of 200 milligrams of Tongkat Ali for 4 weeks on 63 people, 32 men, 31 women. They were moderately stressed test subjects. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. We'd have to dig deep in the study and find out what parameters they used. Aren't we all moderately stressed? Can't we all fit in there? Yeah. So the results showed that after taking the Tongkat Ali for 4 weeks, they showed a reduction of symptoms of stress while improving testosterone levels and lowering cortisol levels in both men and women. Decrease in tension. They're using the word tension. I think of tension as like a headache, but okay, tension by 11%. Decrease in anger by 12%. decrease in confusion by 15%, improvement of stress hormone profile. So testosterone levels went higher by 37%. This is men and women. Cortisol levels went lower by 16%. This is comparing to the placebo. 62% of subjects reported an increased libido. And that's the other thing with Tonkat Ali, is that it will act as an aphrodisiac as well. Tonkat Ali's been around for centuries. I did research on it. I do have a separate podcast on Tonkat Ali where I dive deep into all of these studies. But bottom line is it's ancient. It is an ancient extract that has been used for many, many, many years and shows a lot of great potential. The other thing that Tonkat Ali will do is it will help to lower SHBG. That's a whole other podcast, but sex hormone binding globulin, when it's high, when it's above an 80, it will bind to your free testosterone. So even if you have enough total, if the free is bound to SHBG, you're not going to get all of that free, unbound, ready to be taken up by your cells, beautiful testosterone. So we want to look at your SHBG as well. Okay, so those are my two faves for my ladies. Yeah, I mean, zinc is important. There are many different things. Saw palmetto helps block DHT. So I have Tribulus terrestris and Tonkat Ali and Hormone Fixxr. That was one of the first supplements ever released in my line because testosterone in women, vital for women to have optimal testosterone levels. Now, guys, I got your back too, but I was building the Fixxr supplement line off of what I see in my practice daily, and low testosterone levels in women, absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. So for my guys, like you heard, Tonkat Ali, very, very beneficial. But we have to do a little bit more with you. And this is where Turkesterone comes into play. This would be my favorite supplement for men because Turkesterone is a little bit more powerful. It's a lot more powerful. I actually had a friend of mine who's a woman get sucked into one of those booths at a trade show, a health show, and she bought Turkesterone. I'm like, girlfriend, why didn't you ask me about this exactly? And it shot her levels through the roof. She developed all kinds of androgenic symptoms. Turkesterone is not for women. It is for men. I suppose Turkesterone in a tiny, tiny amount, like a lower dose. Maybe if we put Turkesterone like in a cream base at a very lower dose, that would be good for women. But the Turkesterone out on the market right now is a higher dose. My Turkesterone by the Fixxr is for men. It is for men. So Turkesterone, it's a concentrated type of an ectosteroid or a phytoectosteroid. It's a compound that's naturally found in insects and plants. These ectosteroids have anabolic and adaptogenic effects. So they're anabolic in that they will boost muscle growth, athletic performance, all the things beneficial to testosterone. And they are also adaptogenic, meaning that they will help your body adapt and balance, basically. All adaptogens are about creating balance. So you can find Turkesterones or you can find ectosteroids in foods like spinach, quinoa, yams, but it's not really abundant. You can't eat your way to a higher Turkesterone level or eat your way to a higher testosterone level per se. Like even if you ate enough protein, that's one isolated behavior is not going to be enough to drive your testosterone up. So back to Turkesterone. Turkesterone will actually help you with that androgenic anabolic effect put on muscle mass. So it increases muscle growth, which is fantastic for all sexes, anti-obesity and metabolic boosting effects. It lowers lipid absorption, possibly shifting glucose metabolism, fighting insulin resistance, supporting muscle synthesis, the rebuilding of muscle. helps to boost uptake of the amino acid leucine, which is the important amino acid for building muscle, helps enhance exercise performance, increasing ATP production, assists in muscle and exercise recovery, the adaptogenic effects, stress fighting. So turkesterone can be kind of compared to like an ashwagandha or a rhodiola, where it helps support mental health by helping the body cope with stress and fatigue. Some people find that it improves sleep, reduces anxiety and brain fog, feelings of burnout, low motivation. You can also stack turkesterone with beta ecdysterone or Fedosia agrestis. So, what I would stack for a man would be the Turkesterone by the Fixxr and either the beta ecdysterone or the Fedosia agrestis by the Fixxr, because both of those will absolutely just pack a natural supplemental punch to all the different aspects of low testosterone for men. So when we're talking about low testosterone for men, there's erectile dysfunction issues. There's significant low libido and low brain function, motivation, decision making. So those two supplements can absolutely work along with the lifestyle changes to increase testosterone levels. Now, I will say, guys, if you have elevated estradiol levels, then you have to add in the estrogen fixer or some kind of estrogen blocker, because we want to do two things. We want to raise your testosterone and lower your estrogen at the same time. Okay, we talked food, we talked sleep, we talked stress, we talked supplements, we talked exercise. I think we've covered all the different things that you can do to raise your testosterone naturally. We also went over the importance of doing so. This is not something to just push to the side and not deal with. This could, just like the thyroid is the master gland. And if you do these other things down here, like you're doing a mold protocol and you're doing a gut protocol, but your thyroid is in the toilet, none of those protocols are going to work. Testosterone, not as high as thyroid, but it's up there. So, guys, you could be working out, you could be taking your Viagra for your ED. You could be doing all these like band-aid things down here instead of fixing your testosterone. Ladies, you're over exercising, you're under eating. You're trying so damn hard to put on muscle and lose body fat and change your body composition. You've addressed your thyroid. Now, what about the testosterone? Oh, my doctor says he won't give it to me because that's a dude hormone. No, find somebody who will, or use all the things that we just talked about today to increase your testosterone naturally. So, when do we increase testosterone naturally? To summarize, when our doctors won't give it, or when we are just too young and outside of kind of the optimal patient for doing testosterone replacement therapy. And, when you're in that age range, it really is advised to work with someone that knows what they're doing. Do not go to the puppy mill clinics for hormones, because they're just going to treat you like everybody else. They're not going to listen to you. Some of them don't even test. So please, especially if you're in that younger age group, I don't care what age group you're in, don't go to the puppy mills for the puppy mill hormone clinics for your testosterone. Work with somebody that knows what they're doing so they can properly guide you so you don't mess up your fertility and mess up your baby. It all depends on where you are in that cycle of life and where your testosterone is at as to whether or not we can improve it naturally. But if you do all these things, you're going to give yourself a fighting chance. Definitely improve your symptoms, improve your health overall.